Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just say it. This is the 52nd 5K race that I placed in for my age group this weekend. Sammy's Run, a nice little, well, not so little 5K race down in Sarasota, Florida. About 800 registrants. I was fourth in my age group, so first time I placed in that race. I've done it for several years, so I was really pleased. Of course, I'm now the youngest in my age group, 60 to 64. So runners always are looking forward to getting older to get into that next age group so they can be at the youngest in the 5-year increment group. But I feel like I need to apologize for talking about this. And the reason is I'm getting some pushback by a few people out there. The more you're out there talking about this, of course, the more people you affect and touch. But the comment has been raised that I brag too much about my accomplishments. And part of the reason is I don't like to use the word brag, but I talk about this because I don't really see anybody else out there doing it. And especially I don't see anybody with my background, which is mom, aunt, both sisters. I come from a family of 3 girls. Both sisters have breast cancer. We were part of the original breast cancer gene studies, as I've mentioned in the past, and I have used a plant-based diet for the better part of 32 years, I believe, to dodge the bullets, not only through breast cancer, and I don't know yet whether I have the gene and won't get tested until I turn 65, and it's not considered a pre-existing condition, because who knows if Congress will change their mind on that or not. So I use a plant-based diet to avoid the not only cancer, but the diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, osteoporosis, arthritis that has afflicted just about everybody in my family of origin. And I believe it's the best kept secret in America. Why? Because most doctors don't get a single nutrition class in medical school. So add that to my background, and I just started racing because it was fun and because it helped motivate me. And as I started seeing women in my age group, in these older age groups, many of them are, well, I'll just put it this way, some of them are faster than me and always will be. But the reason I keep talking about this is because people all the time ask me when I go to races, are you getting enough protein? How can you do this? In fact, at this very race this weekend in Sarasota, 2 guys at a table saw me wearing my shirt because I'm always wearing my Eat Vegan on $4 a day shirt. And they just really kind of buttonholed me and said, how do you do this? Like, there aren't any vegan runners out there that are Olympians or have done great accomplishments. And then I started ticking off Carl Lewis and Brendan Brazier and Scott Jurek. And, I'm standing there talking to them with my medal in my hand, and it's just like, they aren't understanding. And so finally, I do what I usually do and go, does it look like I have a protein deficiency? And how many people do you know who have protein deficiencies? How many people do you know who have heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and Alzheimer's? And of course, that's what I believe we should be focusing on. So by continuing to say, look, I am placing in my age group 52 times now since 2006, it shows not that I'm the fastest runner on the planet, but that you can do this on a plant-based diet. So when I give talks around the country, I try and touch on this as well as include tips from my book, Eat Vegan on $4 a day, and talk about how to stay fit on a budget. Having your own weights at home is a great way to save money and not have to join a health club and deal with all the issues surrounding that. So there are lots of ways you can eat well on a budget as well as stay fit. And those 2 themes are the ones that I always keep coming back to. But part of eating well and staying fit is avoiding disease. And so when I talk about my own success in this area, it is not to brag or boast. I just want to be really clear about this. It's to show that it can be done. And if any of you listening out there can figure out a better way for me to do this, I am certainly open to those ideas. The biggest myth about being an author is that you make a lot of money. I won't even go down that path, but other than to say I know several authors who have lost thousands of dollars paying for a publicist they thought would get them on Ellen, or back in the days when Oprah had her own show, those kinds of things. So my whole goal in this, besides trying to make a difference in the world, is not to lose money. And so I don't have anybody that I pay to be my assistant or work for me. So there's nobody else putting out there what I do, what my accomplishments are. The only way I know to get that information out there is to talk about it. And if there's anybody out there who wants to volunteer to help me with that, I am certainly more than happy to entertain ideas on how it is you think it's best to go about getting out there what you've done in a positive way and to show others who are so skeptical. I mean, I just can't even begin to tell you all the examples of people I have that come up to me almost on a daily basis saying, where do you get your protein, or how do you do that? How can you possibly do what you do and do it on a plant-based diet? I just got through today speaking at our local city's Kiwanis Club, and I would say the average age of the 60 or so people who attended were 40, 50, and mostly male, some women. But they all knew somebody who had cancer, or they had a daughter or granddaughter who was eating vegan, and they were very curious. So that's another reason I think it's so important to get this information out there about what I do and how I do it, so that people can be helped. That's ultimately the goal. I don't do this because I enjoy standing on a pedestal saying I'm the greatest runner since Scott Jurek. I mean, I am definitely not, even though I am third in state in the 200, 400, and 1500 for my age group. So my goal is to finish without injury. It was never about competing. It just wasn't. But as I started showing up at these races and realizing as you get into the older age groups that the competition is less, and there's a reason for that. And I really believe a plant-based diet gives you the edge and has certainly helped me accomplish the things that I had wanted to do, which, by the way, is not about winning the race. It's about finishing without injury. It's about being around for the grandkids, because my parents were so sick and diseased by the time I had kids that they couldn't babysit, let alone lift them. So I chose a different path, and it is about making informed choices and getting all the information you can. So I hope this has been helpful, and I gotta run.